You're listening to the weekly Parsha Podcast with Ari Goldwag, recorded with Hashem's never-ending assistance in Ramat B'Shemesh Israel, 5779, 2019. This week's Parsha is Parsha Tzav, and I'd like to share with you a thought from Reb Chaim Friedlander, and I think that it applies to Purim as well. So, since today is Tainus Esther, and some of you may hear this before Purim, I hope that you'll be inspired about Purim as well. He speaks about the concept of the Olah, the korban Olah, which is mentioned in our Parsha, which is a sacrifice, a korban that was given and was completely burnt on the Mizbech, on the altar, as opposed to a korban Shelamim, as we shall see. Korban Shelamim was brought, however, part of it was burned on the altar, and part of it was eaten by the Kohanim, by the priests, and by the Bailim, by the owners, by the people who brought the korban. Korban Olah, completely burnt, completely given away to God. Korban Shelamim, not so. Part of it is for God, and part of it is for the person. Now, what is the difference between the concept of these two korbanos, these two sacrifices? Reb Chaim tells us that the difference between these two ideas is the difference between the way the idol worshiper thinks about God and about spirituality, as opposed to the way that the Jew thinks about, or is enjoined to think about, spirituality and God. So he brings the verse in our Parsha Tzav is Aaron V'Zbonov. This is in Vayikra, Leviticus chapter 6, verse 2. Command Aaron and his sons, Lemor, saying, Zeis Tois HaOlah, this is the law of the korban Olah, the sacrifice which is completely burnt. Upirish Rashi. Rashi tells us, Ein Tzav Lashon Zirus Miyad L'Dairis. The word Tzav, which means command, it's always going to be used. The Torah always uses that in the context of something which is to encourage a person to do a mitzvah now, and also for all generations. Rabbi Shimon says, it's more necessary in this context for the Torah to encourage a person, to cause a person to quicken his motions and his actions. Because in this case, there is a loss of money. What is the idea here that there's a loss of money? Usually we think of a loss of money as somebody actually lost money. Here, the person is giving all of the money, he's giving all of the value which is within this korban, the sacrifice, to God, as it were. He doesn't get anything back from it. So therefore, since it's completely burned, so therefore the person needs an extra ziruz, an extra encouragement, an extra request to quicken his actions, since there's a loss, or a perceived loss by the individual. So Reb Chaim explains to us something which we need to understand, of course. What does it usually mean when we speak about something that does not have a loss? Ordinarily, a mitzvah which doesn't incur a loss is a mitzvah that doesn't cost anything to do. A person does a kindness for somebody. He smiles at somebody. That's a mitzvah. It doesn't require any expenditure of money. However, says Reb Chaim, there's another explanation for it. A kiss is a loss of money, we translated, but it actually literally means a loss to one's pocket, to one's pocketbook. So a pocket can also be some kind of vessel which receives. It receives whatever is placed in it. So according to this, we can explain that what does it mean that it has a chisaron kiss? So it's missing something in regards to receiving. In regards to this mitzvah, the person himself does not receive anything from it. It's completely giving to God. But when it comes to the concept of it doesn't have any kind of chisaron kiss, a loss of a pocket, of a klei kibble, the idea is that it's not missing the vessel to receive. There is something to receive. Such a commandment, such a performance of a commandment does indeed involve a person receiving something. And through that receiving, the mitzvah is fulfilled. As we explained, the difference between a korban Olah, which is completely burned, versus a korban Shelamim, the Olah is completely brought on the Mizbeach, completely burned. Ein ba kiss, ein ba kabbalah. It doesn't have anything that the person receives himself. The mitzvah is fulfilled by it being completely given to God. And therefore, by giving it, so it has a loss of kiss. It's missing the pocket. It's missing the receiving on the end of the person who's doing the mitzvah. Baram, however, korban hashlamim chisaron kiss. The korban shlamim does not have any chisaron kiss. Yesh bo kabbalah. Because why? Because it does have a receiving on the part of the person who is doing the mitzvah, fulfilling the commandment. The fulfilling of the mitzvah is done by somebody who is bringing this korban, and he's going to also receive something. He also eats from the flesh of the animal, as the verse says. The Kohanim eat, and the Bailam get a kapara. The Bailam, the owners, the people who brought the korban, get an atonement. Besides the fact that the person gets some meat to eat, and only the different parts of the korban are brought on top on the mizbeach, on the altar. The mitzvah itself is fulfilled through the person receiving it. When does the person get the atonement? It's when the meat is eaten, when there's something that's received by the human being, by the person who's bringing the korban. So now he tells us that if we look at the way that the idol worshiper approaches the spiritual world, we see that there's a great contrast between the way that the Jew sees the world and the way that the idol worshiper sees the world. If an idol worshiper would like to bring a korban to God, he wants to come to the temple, he wants to bring a sacrifice to God. So when he offers a sacrifice, it's only a korban Olah. It's only that which is completely burnt, and not something which is also eaten by the person bringing it. If a person who's a non-Jew, who's an idol worshiper, offers to bring a Shelamim, we don't bring it as a Shelamim, we bring it as an Olah. Because we assume and we know that his intent was to bring an Olah which is completely burnt. He misused the word Shelamim. It's Gemara Menachos and Daf Ayin Daled, page 74a. The approach, the non-Jewish approach, is that if a person wants to be extremely spiritual, so they need to give up completely to God. There's no such thing as halfway. There's no such thing as a person receiving himself part of the korban. Through a command which is completely giving to heaven, or separating oneself completely from this world, it doesn't get any benefit himself from this world. But that type of individual is not able to understand that there's an additional way of approaching God, an additional way of serving God. By a person's needs in this world. So here's the chiddush. Here's the awesome, amazing chiddush HaTorah, the novelty of the Torah, which is that with the right intent, a person can take this world and lift it up. They can take this world and with the intent to use it in the service of God, it can be a mitzvah in and of itself. It's possible that the actual enjoyment of this world is actually service of God. This is not something that the idol worshipper's mind can grasp. That's why when he brings a korban, it's only an Olah. It's only something which is completely burnt. He can't bring a Shelamim. What's the concept of the Shelamim? Besides for that which is burned on the Mizbeach, so there's also a benefit to the Bailam, to the person who brought the korban, because human beings eat it, the priests eat it, and the Bailam, they get an atonement for it. Okay? The actual eating itself, which is an enjoyment of this world, is something which it's part of the service of the Kodshim, the holy service. So this is not something that can be understood by the idol worshiper to understand that it's possible to turn around the needs of this world through a physical act of eating, and to raise it up to the service of God. It's easier for that person to understand the concept of fasting on the Day of Atonement, rather than the concept of eating as much as one can the day before, which is also a mitzvah. Doing that lishma, doing that for heaven, for the sake of God. So the service of an idol worshiper, of a non-Jew, is through separating oneself from this world, which is why they have their nuns and their priests who are completely separated from this world. That's the concept. Complete giving to heaven, not being able to receive themselves. Okay? So now, so he says like this. So it's true that within Yiddishkeit itself, within Judaism, so we have two different paths which correspond to these two paths. There are mitzvahs which are fulfilled by the actual doing of the mitzvah. He says an amazing thing, very interesting. When a person does the mitzvah, so the intent that the person has is secondary in some cases. He's going to give us examples. The main mitzvah is being done through the fulfillment of the actual physical act of the mitzvah. For example, eating the meat of the Shelamim, so that's something which the kedusha, the holiness, is there because of the act. The intent at the time of eating, has become a mitzvah as an addition to the actual fulfillment of the mitzvah. But there are other acts which the act itself is not per se intrinsically a fulfillment of the commandment. The way that the person thinks about the act that he's doing as he's doing it, that's what brings it to be considered a fulfillment of a commandment. Let's say a person is eating lunch, and he's eating a delicious piece of pizza, but he has in mind, why am I eating this pizza? I'm eating it so that I will be able to have the strength to serve God, to study the Torah, to fulfill the commandments. Through this intent at the time of eating, to have more strength to be able to serve God. This is what causes a person that the person's eating is considered an act of commandment, a spiritual act. But if a person would just be eating the pizza because he loves pizza, without any additional intent, so that person would not be fulfilling a commandment at all. He wouldn't have done anything great. There's no spiritual component. The spiritual component is only that which is brought in through the thought that one does. So Shnei Drachim Elu B'Kiyum HaMitzvos V'Ramchal. So Ramchal explains these two different possible paths in Derech Hashem, and this is a quote directly from Derech Hashem, the first section, part 4 of the first section, section 7. He says exactly what we just said, but it's good to hear the language, the golden language of the Ramchal. He says, when it comes to service of God, there are two there's two sections, there are two parts. The first is that which a person does because he's commanded to do so. The second is that which is done because he must do it. He has to do it because it's a physical need. One is that which is done because it's a commandment in the Torah. And the second is that which a person uses in the world for his own purposes, but he's able likadesh, to sanctify it. He explains the two paths. The Maisa mitzvahs are like this. the purpose of doing them is something which is understood. Why do we take the 4 species on Sukkot? Why do we build a sukkah? This is all in order to fulfill the will of God. God commanded, and we are doing His will. So by fulfilling this commandment in this way, so a person is doing God's will. God commanded to do this particular action, and the person is doing it. The actual performance of the mitzvah is that which is the fulfillment of God's command. When it comes to using the world for the human being's needs, that too has to, first, in order for it to be considered a commandment, has to be confined within the will of God. First of all, it can't be something which is forbidden. God says certain foods you can't eat. God says certain enjoyments a person is forbidden to have. So that's the first condition. It needs to be something which is healthy, and that which will cause a person to continue to exist in the best way. And it shouldn't be according to a person's natural inclination to have excessive things, excesses, right? Because those also aren't healthy. It's not good for a person to overeat. And then a person needs to have the intent for the purpose of the soul being able to use the body in the service of God. If I'm healthy, then I can properly serve God. I can study God's Torah. If I have a headache, if I'm not taking care of my body, if I'm sick, so then I can't serve God properly. Using this world with the proper intent. Like the verse says, the verse says, in all of your paths, in all of your ways, you should know God. When a person uses this world in this way, so then the person will be able to fulfill God's will. He'll be able to come close to God through the physical actions that a person does with the right intent. So his ability to raise up the physical to the spiritual. And so such a person will be able to acquire a spiritual level, a true spiritual level, which he also can attain with all of a person's actions of mitzvahs. Because this is also an obligation to take care of our bodies with the proper preparation in order to be able to serve God, and to use the world in this way for this purpose as is needed. And through this we raise ourselves up through the actual action, the physical action. I'm eating, but it's a spiritual act. I'm sleeping, it's a spiritual act. An amazing last chiddush of the Ramchal is that when I eat a piece of meat and I have in mind that the meat should help me have strength so I can serve God, so that raises up the animal. It raises up the fruit. It raises up whatever I'm using in this world. It raises it, and it fulfills the spiritual purpose for that very physical thing. And he finishes off. Amazingly, using things in this world, using the physical realm, is not just an unavoidable necessity. Serving, using the physical reality, using the physical things in service of God, it itself is service of God, and it affects perfection. It brings a person to a spiritual perfection. This is what our sages say. Which is a small verse which many details are dependent upon. It's the verse that says, in all of your ways you shall know God. Reb Chaim says, the word to know God means to come close to God. Through all of a person's paths. It was possible through all of the physical things that a person does, all of the physical involvements that a person has. It's possible to know God, to come close to God. By using them in order to serve God, they're also considered like a mitzvah. They're also a spiritual deed. Through the proper intent that a person has, the thoughts make a big difference. Intent makes every difference. Ask a lawyer. Through the intent that a person has, it turns the person's act in this world into a fulfillment of a commandment. And a person can merit to acquire perfection, acquire spiritual attainments, just like a person acquires it through doing the actual mitzvahs themselves, through the physical act that a person does. Amazing thing. These foundations of serving God, using this world, and turning them into fulfillment of a commandment. A person who's an idol worshiper does not have this idea, doesn't understand that it's possible to serve God in this way. It's only possible to serve God if I give myself completely to God, if I'm completely denying myself of anything in this world. But if I receive any benefit, the idol worshiper doesn't understand this. They certainly can't understand how by using, if it comes to when it comes to a mitzvah, if I get any benefit from it, they can't see how it's possible that I am actually serving God in that way. So certainly when it comes to using the physical realm and injecting it with the proper kavanah, with the proper intent, they don't understand how it's possible, but it is possible to serve God in that way. So this is our purpose in our service of God, and this is the work that we need to do. To use this world, both when it comes to those things that a person benefits himself or doesn't benefit himself, to serve God in that way. Through this, a person attains spiritual perfection, spiritual greatness, spiritual wholeness. And in so doing, the person raises himself and raises the entire world. And on Purim, so we do the things that seem to be the opposite. It's all about food, and it's eating more food, and there's a seuda, and there's giving gifts to other people, and there's getting drunk, which is not something that I do the entire year, but on Purim is the one time that it's an obligation to do it, and we do it. So it's an amazing thing, though. What is the idea? What's the concept of Purim? It's that it's possible for a person to serve God through Olam Hazeh, the right intent. The right intent is I'm doing it because this is the will of my Creator. I'm doing it because I want to come closer to God. And if you listen to the way that people speak on Purim, the B'nai Torah, the people who are studying the Torah, the people who are involved in Avodas Hashem and serving God, what they're talking about is I wish I could come closer to God. I wish I could learn more. I wish I could be more spiritual. And that's the Yesod here that we see from the Parsha, the Korbanos, and that's the Yesod, the foundational concept that we see from the idea of Purim. Thank you. I want to bless you, and I ask you to bless me that we should be zeicha to incorporate both of these concepts, the ability to serve God completely, giving up ourselves completely to God, but also to be able to take the physical realm and the things that we need to do, the necessities of this world, to be able to infuse within them the service of God, the right intent. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful Purim, a freilichen Purim, and a good Shabbos.
This podcast was made possible through the gracious donations of listeners like you. For more podcasts like this, please visit www.arigoldwag.com or search on iTunes Ari Goldwag.